Hello everybody and welcome to Haus. I'm Rob, and today we're going to be talking about some more stuff coming from the Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick, who has come out and said a little bit more about Civ 7 and kind of where they're at with it. I've only read a little bit of this, but I thought that this was worth talking about, mainly due to the fact that I think a lot of us, I am saying myself mostly, and I'm sure you guys as well, are wanting to know what are their plans? What are they actually going to do with this game right now? How do they view the game? And so I wanted to kind of go over that and see, maybe if I agree with them or maybe not. I'm feeling like probably not based on the title, but you got to read beyond just the title. Just a little bit of a heads up there for you guys out there. But yeah, other than that, I'm just going to ask you guys like and subscribe if you are new here. Even if you're not, I would love to have you guys here as a part of our house here at Civ House. And let me know in the comments section below if you guys believe this or you think it's really just, baloney, CEO jibber jabber business talk. Yeah, let's hop into it. So the article comes from IGN, who've done a pretty good job, I think, of covering this game. I think they've been relatively unbiased. They were one of the first reviews I remember reading that I started to have some concerns about the game. I still do have concerns about the game, but I do think it's getting better. But basically, Strauss Zelnick is insisting that the projections for the lifetime value, which is, I think, an important phrase there, of Civ 7 are very consistent with our initial expectations for the title, despite a slow start. So little bit contradictory there, but let's kind of read into what they're actually talking about. So, Civ 7 has fewer players than both Civ 6 and Civ 5, but, Civ 7 is projected to meet the company's initial internal expectations over the course of its lifetime. I felt like this was worth pointing out just because of the fact that you have to understand that they know that this game is going to take have its ups and downs. We've seen it with Civ 5. We've seen it with Civ 6. I think this one is the most pronounced because there are more players that are playing it. Shout out to all of you Switch players, all you different console players out there. But, this has gone just beyond PC in, I think, a really big way for the first time. Like, that was the whole focus. Maybe even you VR players. I'm remembering that they have that as well. But, they talk about this because I think it did very well, and then now it's kind of figuring out what's next. How do they continue to keep this life cycle up for this game that we know is going to be out? It's only been 6 months. This game's going to be out probably, based on what we've seen, at least another 7.5 years. Just going to be honest with you. Any of you Civ 8, people who are excited, you guys are going to have to, wait close to another decade for another Civilization game likely to come out. I would still say the soonest I could see one coming out would be in 5 years, if they really did decide to kind of just scrap this one and move forward. I don't think that's going to happen. It's just pretty unlikely. But in an interview, he talks about, a hugely positive financial results, and admitted, so the CEO's admitting it got off to a slow start. What is interesting to me is that I actually think it got off to a really fast start. The problem is that it did not continue to, keep those players engaged. And we are seeing that based on the fact that a lot of people are going back to 5 and 6. But he insists that the company's internal projections for what he called the lifetime value of Civ 7 still matched its initial expectations. I don't know if the expectations were low or maybe they just hit such a high at the beginning that the financials are going to be able to carry it through the first couple of years for the people like myself who spent, well over $100 to get the rest of the game. I don't know. We will have to see. It's definitely improving, which I would agree with him on. The game is improving. It has not announced the sales figures for the game. If you guys would like for me to go over that when it comes out, I probably will anyways, but if you'd like to, let me know. That would be something that I would find very interesting to talk with you all about. I think that the key thing, so this is where we're getting into the actual meat and potatoes of this article right here, and it's only these 2 paragraphs because after that it's kind of their thoughts and their conjectures on it. So I'm going to really just kind of focus right here under King of the Hill. I think the key thing is that Civ has always been a slow burn. It's always been a title that had, I'm not really a big believer in the long tail theory of entertainment business, but wait, what? It's always been a title that had, I'm not a big believer in the long tail theory of the entertainment business, but Civ is an example of that theory. I don't know, maybe I'm just reading that wrong. And right now, our projections for the lifetime value of the title are very consistent with our initial expectations for the title. So while we were off to a slow start, and while we have had to make changes, there are more changes coming, I feel like consumer uptake is better and better, and we feel really good about the title. I think over time, it's going to take its place in Civilization's pantheon in a very successful, incredible way. Look, he has to come out and do this business talk, right? He's the CEO. If he was sitting there and just slamming the game, it's not going to help sales. It's not going to help him with his job, right? Now, that would maybe be a little bit more honest with how they're actually feeling, but I think there's some very important parts that are talked about in here. Again, I guess the long tail theory of entertainment business is more that, you know, the longer it goes on, he calls it a slow burn. You know, Civ games do, you know, tend to produce more and more over time, right? You get the people who are really excited at the beginning, and then as you get bigger, you know, sales and stuff like that, and as you add more DLC, it'll get added. We've talked about this a ton of times on the channel, but the Paradox, you know, games are, I think, the model that Take-Two and Civ want to copy. They want to have it so that there are, you know, new DLC coming out all the time, new ways to change and play the game. I think the problem is we're only 6 months in, obviously, and we've not seen the game change, I think, to the way that we all have been hoping. We had all really hoped, you know, that there would be, you know, these, you know, different Gathering Storms and all that kind of stuff, DLC, and I think that we will see those. To be honest with you, I think we will see those in spades. I really think that Diplomacy and I think Religion, those are the two I'm going to keep harping on. One of those two are coming in the next year, without a doubt. But those game-changing ones don't come until a little bit later. Civ does do these kinds of things. So I get with what he's saying. I just think that there are more people who are negative on it than there were before because there's just so many more people playing and paying attention to the series. So then he finally is admitting, you know, they were off to a slow start. And I think what he means by that is the game did not live up to the expectations of the fan. Again, I think financially, and we will see the financials for it, I bet you they sold their butts off. I bet you they made a ton of money on this game, and they are willing to give it more than enough time to kind of recollect itself and gain the trust of players back, and for them to bring more players in, again, as sales happen. I know that that happens on Civ. I have multiple friends who are literally just waiting for the game to go like 50% off, and then they're going to grab it. Obviously, right now, when I'm recording this, I think it's still at 30% off on Steam. I didn't see if it was anywhere else, but I know for sure on Steam. And there are more changes coming, which is good. We know that. They've announced that. This is also, you know, I forget when was this published, on August 11th. I'm recording this a couple days later. I don't know when it's going to come out necessarily on the channel. We had some other content that we did this week that we decided to push out sooner. But I will say that this is like the fact that we've gone through the second week of August and we haven't gotten an update yet is a bit of a surprise to me. I think near the end of the month, we're going to get the August update. That will have the, you know, game changes, but I also really think that what they're working on is that roadmap. The fact that IGN is doing a, you know, an interview and a piece on this right now really signifies to me that there is something coming soon. I've tweeted it, I've talked about it. It's just, it's going to happen, I think, very soon. And they feel like, you know, the uptake is better and better. Obviously, the numbers are not showing that, at least on Steam. How it's looking across other platforms, we do not know. But on Steam, which is, I think, the majority of, you know, the grandfathered in, you know, the longtime players like myself who've been playing since Civ 3, right? We are those kinds of people, and we're most of us are on Steam. Most of us are PC players. So maybe it's doing well over on consoles. Maybe it's doing better on the Switch 2 than many people anticipated. But I do think that we are not seeing it translate over to PC players. Even with Right to Rule, I don't think necessarily the player count has gone up very much. So, or at least like people haven't been coming back, flocking back to play Genghis Khan. So I could be wrong on that, but it doesn't feel like it's that way for me. Then the last part here is, over time, it's going to take its place in Civilization's pantheon in a very successful, incredible way. The only thing that I'm going to refer to, and so they have this community thing now on IGN that is, I think, really interesting, right? And you can see already right here where, all the different Civilization games have been ranked. And obviously a lot of this is like recency bias, and you can see that in both ways, right? Civilization's down here as the worst one of all time. I'm just going to tell you now, I don't think that Civilization is worse than Revolution. I don't think it's worse than Beyond Earth, right? I think that while Civilization 1 deserves its, deserves its flowers for obviously creating the series, I don't think that Civilization 7 is worse than the original Civilization. I have not played it, but what I've seen of it, obviously this game has a lot more to it. So I don't personally feel that way. I actually am a little upset that people are putting Civ 3 down as low as it is. I think it should at least be A ranked. Doesn't need to be up there in S tier. But I remember when Civ 6 came out, and I remember when Civ 5 came out, and I remember especially with Civ 5 being really disappointed. I remember seeing on Reddit a lot of people out there complaining about Civ 6. I am not going to sit here and tell you that Civilization 7 does not have faults. They released, I'll just come out and say it feels like an early access game to us. It should have been presented that way. I think a lot of us would have, I still would have bought the game without a doubt. I was buying it no matter what, not only because I wanted to create this channel, I wanted to have a reason to cover it. I got that approved. I got excited. I wanted to cover the game. Right? So that was going to be me. And I love this series anyway. So I've been looking forward to Civ 7 for forever. So getting the chance to actually do my job with this game, along with getting to play one of my all-time favorite series, felt like a no-brainer to me. So I would have bought it anyways. But had they communicated that they were still going to be testing some things out and that they were going to continue to work on the game, while we do know that, it should be communicated to us. So look, I don't know that it's going to be in the pantheon of Civilization games. The fact that 4, 5, and 6 are at this S tier, and I think a lot of you would agree with that, signifies how great of a run you're going to have. Occasionally, when you make a game, you're going to have a stinker, and you're going to, learn from that. We've seen it again with Beyond Earth and with Revolution, right? Games that I don't think people really necessarily have either played or enjoyed as much. I didn't personally like Revolution all that much, so I don't know, sue me, whatever. The thing is that I do think with time, because there's so much flexibility within this game and there's so many things that they can add, and they're already making huge changes, Civilization can very easily make its way up to a B and become a satisfactory game for a lot of us. I think the problem is that that roadmap is not there for us right now. We got the one earlier in the year, pretty much right when the game came out. We've known what changes they were going to make. They've made a good amount of changes, but what is coming next is, I think, a part of the reason why so many of us are upset. And I think a lot of us, I think a lot of you, and I think rightfully so, feel like, Take-Two has taken your money and that you did not get the game that you expected. And I think they should have been more clear about that. There is no doubt about it. I'm not going to take what the, what's his name, Strauss Zelnick here, for the CEO. I'm not going to take what he has to say here, as gospel. It's not going to be, the thing here that I am going to focus on. But what I do think he is right about is that it's going to take some time. Changes are being made. We know that. And when we get those numbers out, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be surprising how many people bought this game to start and how many people they've got to kind of earn their way back with. So this game and this series have shown that they've done that. They're going to continue to do it. I am excited about the future of the game right now, and I hope that you guys are too. So I think I've rambled on enough about this, but it did feel like I just felt like I really wanted to talk about this. I hope that you guys have felt the same way, and you guys and I can have kind of that discourse there in the comments. But that is going to wrap it up for us on this one. Oh yeah, also shout out to member Jacobian. Appreciate you supporting the channel. You guys can become members as well and help us out. It does mean quite a bit to see those numbers go up. But yeah, that is going to do it for us here on this video. So from our house to yours, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join us for one more turn.